Hello and welcome to this webinar on digital therapy solutions for perceptual and learning difficulties. So let's begin today's topic. When we look at anything in terms of technology, we look at what is the precedent. Just about 200 years ago, well-known physicist and engineer made a major declaration or a claim that heavier than air flying machines were impossible. Now, this was the received wisdom of the time. Now we know in the current scenario that this is not exactly true. We have the International Space Station where we have actual crew which spends a lot of time in that area, and we have evidence that what we believed just 200 years ago is no longer the case. Similarly, this was an example to tell you or to share with us that technology surrounds us, particularly in the era of continued innovation. If you think about what kind of mobile phones were there just 40 years ago, you would be surprised. Many of the young people may not even have an idea. Here in the picture, you can see the mobile phone, which was 40 years ago commonly used, or rather used by specific kinds of research institutions and organizations. Over the years, we can see that mobile phones have gone through continued innovation. So phones have become faster and much more sophisticated as we progress with technology. So continued innovation is a critical component of how human beings make use of technology. Now, not just these, there are a variety of innovations that are in the cognitive domain. Since we are going to look at cognition and perception and reading specific issues today, we'll look at how some of the innovations have helped us understand and solve some of the cognitive and behavioral issues. Here in the picture, you can see an example of how video games can be controlled by brain signals. This is an example of a neurofeedback system using a device that measures brain activity and then sends those signals to a game that you can play on a screen. At the same time, small amount of electrical stimulation can be sent to your brain. Most of you might be aware of the company called Neuralink that has pioneered the brain implants. And in addition to those, there is a variety of news as well as actual use of prosthetic arms. These are artificial limbs that are at times controlled by your brain signals directly. So just an example of how innovations are driving how people are solving issues. Not only with adults, but also with small infants or children. We want to understand how the mind works. For that, we use a variety of technology here shown by two images: electroencephalography, which measures electrical impulse at the scalp surface, and magnetoencephalography that measures magnetic field at the scalp surface. Even infants can undergo these brain scans. These are passive recording devices. They do not cause any harm. There is no radiation of any kind. It's just very small amount of electrical signal that is available on the scalp surface, and it's just recorded and then amplified to study the patterns. So when we do brain imaging to understand infants' mental landscape, we use these neurotechnologies and innovation in cognitive and performance specific methods. Some of you might be aware that technology actually improves outcomes for people and children with special needs. So these are some of the examples of actual apps or technology-driven solutions that are available currently, whether it includes OmGuru or Elevate or ModMath or Cognifit. There are a variety of apps and software programs that are available to train your brain to help you perform better. When we talk about technology, there are opportunities as well as risks. The question is, how do we make appropriate use of technology? Are we becoming over-reliant on technologies? Are children and youngsters becoming addicted to mobile devices and online games? This is one of the primary concerns, specifically given the pandemic situation we are in, where we are primarily connecting with the outside world using these devices. Now, the solution is to find a balance. Nobody is making a claim that technology is absolutely harmless. We need to find a balance. We need to use the technology to change our brain in a targeted fashion. Anything that we are using it is affecting our brain, it's affecting our visual system. The issue is to find the balance and to use it in a targeted fashion. When we say targeted fashion, what do we mean? Here I refer to a phenomena called neuroplasticity, which is the capacity of the brain to rewire itself or modify its connection in response to training or environment. The best method to enhance neuroplasticity and to rehabilitate the brain is by playing video games. This was a research done in 2017, published in 2017. In addition, another research had shown that increase in gray matter in brain areas for executive and memory functions in stroke patients who played video games. So there is some existing literature that shows that playing video games or digital technology actually helps you rewire and improve your cognitive performance. Now, digital therapeutics have many advantages. Particularly, they reduce drug dependence, constant need for availability of therapists, and customized plans. Digital therapy can also reduce the duration of disability leave by about 17% compared to a control group and allows one to return to work or study faster, sooner. This was a study from Canada. Similarly, a 2020 Decision Resources Group paper discusses that large insurance firms are moving towards reimbursement of digital therapeutics. So it's not just the medical practitioners, but also the insurance companies that are keen on making these readily available and reimbursable. Now, digital therapeutics roadmap is emerging landscape with a lot of potential. We have a variety of conditions like learning disabilities or dyslexia, where some of them are already available at the consumer level, at the commercial level. Autism spectrum conditions have also been discussed extensively in the literature, and a variety of research has shown that in the developmental, preclinical, and clinical stages, digital therapeutics has shown great promise. It is also likely to be available as a prescription software in the coming years. Similar issue with ADHD and cognitive impairment diagnostic apps, which have gone through development as well as preclinical phases. Similar issues with dementia and stroke patients, which are actually in the developmental stages, because these are actual neurological conditions rather than just a cognitive profile that needs training. So digital therapeutics is an emerging area that we can make use of. What are the barriers or limitations when we talk about these? We should look at some cognitive and behavioral biases we all have. We tend to, for instance, overestimate what can be done in a year. And at the same time, we underestimate what can be done in 5 to 10 years' time. So when we think about these methods and technologies, they are not necessarily coming after maybe 20 years. They're already here. We need to prepare our children and our clients for the future. Essentially, in 10 to 15 years' time, these will become mainstream. For instance, just this year, in the month of June, FDA, the US body, has green-lighted app-based tool to detect autism spectrum disorder in kids. It's a software diagnostic tool that has been used for detecting autism. Now, what we need to change is what we call mindset and access as well as ease of use. So these are the aspects that need to be looked at, given the situation where we have, prosthetic arms and bionic vision and cognitive augmentation right at our doorstep. So when we talk about digital therapeutics, where are we currently? Just another news from the medical technologies context, where expanding role of digital therapeutics in mental health has been acknowledged. In fact, major pharmaceutical companies are actually partnering with digital therapeutics for a variety of conditions like autism spectrum disorder or dyslexia, even ADHD. Here I'm showing you a small example set from these contexts. Digital therapeutics have a wide range of potential, not just in cognitive domain, but also in neurology, here shown by another news from Medscape. And in fact, in the US, clinical trials have started. I showed you an example of Cognua, where autism spectrum digital therapeutic engagement and usability study has been approved for clinical trial. So these are all things that are actually going on and are being approved rapidly. This is where we come in. Orange Neurosciences, which is a digital therapeutics company, we offer AI-based remedial digital cognitive therapy. This is based on the idea of neuroplasticity, which means we want to create more efficient neural networks in the brains of poor readers by targeting auditory, visual, and cognitive pathways. This is to enhance reading and comprehension skills. This is the patent pending technology. This addresses root cause of neurological challenges and not just behavioral symptoms. So when we are learning to read, there are a variety of sub-steps involved in reading, essentially recognizing the symbol, understanding the relationship between the symbol and the sound, combining those alphabets or symbols to make a word, and then rapid word reading. These are all specific kinds of skills that are involved in word recognition. And read-on particularly targets neural networks that are involved in these auditory, visual, and cognitive pathways. This also enhances working memory and executive functions. Read-on actually uses neuroplasticity principles, which has been designed into 9 different types of gameplays. These are highly engaging gameplays. They create connections between auditory and visual pathways, as well as boost phonemic awareness and attention. It also improves eye movement control, coding and decoding skills, finally improving the executive functioning skills. Read-on as a therapy is available in 2 formats. It runs for 15 weeks. The first part is cognitive therapy, and the second part is reading therapy. Here I will show you a video of how these play games look like. When you sign up or you assign a student's name, the AI program automatically assigns a particular level, but a therapist can change that level of difficulty. So this is an example of what kind of games students can play.
Drag the bees from the left side to the right side to make the same pattern.
So eye movements from left to right.
Now drag the bees from the right side to the left side to make the same pattern. Listen for the word. Catch the ball with the matching word and place it into its designated area. Rack. Rack. Back. Back. Find these hidden words and place them on the lines. The park was dark.
At the bottom, you can see some scores. They are actually engagement scores. They don't measure performance, but they are there to encourage the child to continue to
find the right word and place it onto the cloud. Top. Mop. Great! Now find the missing letters to spell the word. He held the top of the mop.
So sentence completion, sound parcel, combined with
L. Bell.
figure ground segmentation.
L. Bell. Pick the right word and place it into the square.
So a variety of these options are available. We see quite a marked improvement in a variety of conditions. with rate, accuracy, fluency, and comprehension of words and reading fluency. This is just an example from a small set of students. I have also published or in the process of publication some of the single case studies. This is available on the internet. If anybody's interested, I can send you a link. You can look at how our therapy has helped a person or a young student with autism. We have a variety of current partners across the globe, mostly in North America, Middle East, Singapore, and India, as well as in other regions. We are also partnering with therapy institutions, schools, as well as universities. We have currently launched the world's largest survey on reading. We welcome you to join us for this. This is based on an app. You can download those apps. It's a 10 to 15-minute game play that children can play up to the age of 18.